Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Collective Clicks podcast. This is your host, Brandon Bateman, and today I'm joined by Brent Bowers, who transitioned from house investing into land investing. He's going to talk a little bit about that journey and some of the lessons that he learned. Brent, how you doing today?
I'm good, Brandon. Thanks for having me, man. Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a minute, and it's also been a minute since we've known each other. What are we going on?
Yeah.
Like, probably, goodness, 5 years?
I think it was 2018, the first time I met you, 1920. Yeah, so that's 7 years.
7, oh my
About
goodness.
7 years now. So I think I saw the first scale event or the second scale event that they did out in, what is it, Utah Sell Now?
Yeah, I still remember you because so this is like the beginning of my real estate journey, right? I've been at this point working with Cody and Mark, they're like my first client in the wholesaling space, and I've been working with them for years. I randomly get this call from Cody and he says, "Hey, I know I never met you, but I want you to come present to this group of real estate investors I have coming to my office and tell them what you do." And I get there and I think I want to say 8 people in the room, and I'm giving this presentation, and you literally take out your credit card and you try to give it to me like while I'm presenting.
Yeah, Cody told me how many houses they were buying with your PPC and SEO strategy, and I had been trying to crack that nut for years.
It was like the easiest close in the world because the event was like about like the sales and acquisitions side and also the marketing. And Cody was like, "My secret to marketing is online marketing, and my secret to online marketing is that you hire this company." And but that was it. So yeah, I still remember I was presenting there, and I was used to like chasing down these like bigger companies and trying to get them to become clients and all this stuff. And here I am just like giving like what's probably objectively, like looking back, like one of the worst presentations ever.
It was terribly boring. Honestly, I probably slept through all of it because I'm not like a tech guy that I was like, I'm just going to see if he'll take the card and we'll figure it out later. Because, I think that was before Who Not How was written. I didn't realize I was doing that Who Not How so effectively back then. And my dad's first boss, or my dad's old boss, not first boss, his old boss was, I would say, a genius. And this guy built multiple companies, and I never saw the guy work a day in his life. He had a true business. Other people ran it. And I heard him say one time, I just surround myself with people that are smarter than me.
Yeah, and that's it. And if ever given the opportunity, you try to give them your credit card, is what I learned. Because that was the first of many times when randomly in conversation, you gave me your credit card from each other. So that's
I had to cancel that credit card. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, who knows what I'm going to use it for now.
Guys, anybody listening to this podcast, if you're not using Bateman Collective, like, you are missing out. You should own the online world. I mean, he'll make you own it, because I used to buy houses. Then I transitioned into land investing because I really like the passive income, the time freedom, the house buying. Our best KPI, key performance indicator, was the online. Second best was our pay per click. And the third was our postcard when I was buying houses. And I didn't really need all that stuff as much. With land was back in 2018, people would literally give me land. Now it's gotten a little bit more competitive because a lot of these house buyers are jumping into this business, just like I did. But yeah, guys, if you're on the fence about using Brandon or Bateman Collective and his team, get off the fence and just hand them your credit card. It's easy. It's a return on investment. I would spend $1 to make $3, $3.50 back to $4 every day. And that's really the way I looked at it.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that, Brent. Now that our Bateman Collective commercial is over, let's talk about you and this journey that you went through. We were talking a little bit before this, and I was like, you know what, Brent, what's your message? What have you learned? What has changed in all these years we've known each other? Because while we've known each other for a long time, I think both of us have been just like naturally occupied with different things. And every time I talk to you, it feels like I'm talking to an old friend that I haven't talked to in 2 years. And that seems to be
we wake surf together. We've done all kinds of stuff together. One day, hopefully, we'll hit the powder in Utah, because I know you told me it was way better than Colorado's. So I'll never forget that. Kind of ruined Colorado's skiing for me, but
we do have to talk about that. We actually just finished up our ski event with clients last week. I should have looked out of you to invite you. We did some skiing for a few days. It was pretty fun. So anyways, when we were catching up, like basically what you were telling me is, the house flipping thing, house wholesaling, like that's cool. It's for some people. But what do I actually believe? What do I feel like I've learned? What I've learned is that really sucks compared to what you can do in land investing. That's what your message is. So if anybody's listening to this and you weren't looking for a shiny object today, then just leave right now, because I don't know what direction this is going to go. I don't know how kibitzy this is going to get. But if you're open to shiny objects, let's talk about someone who chased one. And let's talk about what that's been like. How has it been different from this?
Well, yeah, I built the team. We had about 16 people. I don't have that right now. It's just me and my office manager, and so much more relaxing. I had the 16 people. We were flipping houses, buying a lot of them through your PPC and SEO, but I was also doing land as well. I get a lot of land leads as well through all those methods. We were on TV and radio. Honestly, I think I was just trying to feed my ego, and I wanted to beat all the other house investors in Colorado Springs at that time. And I got out of the military and I had all this time on my hands. But one day it hit me like a ton of bricks that I had just left my military job and I bought another job. And I had been promising my wife this entire time for the last several years that one day it will be different and I'll be around more to help raise our 3 kids. And it was a huge lie. I was around a lot less. I was on the road a lot, managing flips, also doing the land business. And 2021, it's early 2020, mid 2022, I lost money on 3 houses on land. Plus I had a lot of cash locked up in that. And I got a massive tax bill, my first biggest tax bill ever, from all this money that it looked like I made in real estate, but it was reinvested in land and houses. And I also think I found out that you guys didn't bill me for almost 12 months, and I also owed you a lot of money. I owed so many people money at one time. It's the same exact time. I don't think you realize this, Brandon. It's all coming together probably for you. But you guys didn't bill me. And luckily you let me make payments on what I owed you. But I seriously considered committing suicide for half that day. Because I was like, how am I going to dig my way out of this? I literally just had over probably $300,000 or $400,000 in my account to nothing, and owing a couple $100,000 now at this point. And one of these people are at the IRS, which I wasn't as scared of you as I was the IRS, and the lenders that I had to walk these mortgages to other properties. I snapped out of that fog pretty quickly, hired a virtual CFO, which you know him. He wrote, Profit First for Real Estate Investors. David, yes, I was trying to think of his name for a second. I'm not currently still working with David, but he was incredible, by the way. And he was like, basically showed me that I was making way more money in land and hardly spending any of my time on land, and losing money in the houses, which that didn't take a genius, to give myself a little credit. And I was spending 95% of my time on land. I'm sorry, correction, on houses. 95% of my time on houses, but losing money in it. Maybe 5% of my time on land and making money. That day I was like, I'm done. We're gonna sell them all. We had 7 flips going on, got rid of all of them, and I haven't touched a house since, except for I do have a bunch of rentals. And I was able to pretty much relieve my entire team. I hardly spend anything in marketing. I'm spending like $1,500 a month on marketing right now. And we're doing anywhere from, I don't know, 20 to 45,000 a month on land deals. If I don't do anything, it's about 20,000, because a lot of them pay us monthly. So I sell land on monthly payments, passive income. I prefer to sell it for as long as possible and collect payments as long as possible. It's like having a rental, but nothing ever breaks. So that's pretty much it. That's what I do in a nutshell. I buy land cheap and I sell it on payments.
Okay, interesting. So let's talk about what kind of land, because I remember when I first learned about this, I was a little bit fascinated, right? You're basically, and you tell me if this is still your strategy, I'll tell you how I remember it from years ago, is you were basically looking for pretty rural land and buying these big, large acreage properties, and then you were subdividing them into all these little lots and selling them at like really low cost, like stuff like $3,000 to $5,000 individually on seller finance terms, where that turns into $100 a month for 30 months or something like that in some circumstances. Is that still what you're doing?
No, but yes, you have it right. That's what I was doing back then. Yes, and that allowed me to build quite the passive income. And I didn't get into this business to get rich, by the way. I just really wanted my time back from the military and to spend time in have fun. But I've changed the strategy a little bit, but yes, you have it. You said it. I'd have $300 a property and I'd sell them for $4,500, $4,900 on payments at 12% interest for sometimes 30 years. Because really I was in the business of how long can I get a payment for this land? And the longest anybody's ever paid me this thus far is about 7.5 years. The first 7 years on a 30-year mortgage, by the way, is all interest. It's just like printing money, by the way. Plus we get the markup of the land because we're buying it at a discount. But now I changed it a little bit. I go and find land that's in demand, where land's selling, where it's hot, where people want to buy land. So I'm no longer creating the demand. I used to have to create demand in the middle of nowhere. Now I just fill that demand. So I find the area that land's selling, I price it out, I generate what's called land offer letters, or LOLs. We send them out every time we get one signed back and sent back to us in our inbox. It's like getting a deal in our inbox. So we laugh out loud because someone just agreed to sell us a piece of land at a crazy discount. So I can either sign that contract or wholesale that contract or buy it and flip it myself. And a couple of these lately, we've been putting brand new mobile homes on, and it's really cool to where one of our areas we're in. I'm really excited about mobile homes right now, even though it's not like my traditional land model. It gets really boring doing this, by the way. I had a mentor, Tom Kroll. He said, boring is where the money's made. It's that consistency where it's so well, it's like your first child. When they're going to be hungry, you know what they're going to ask for. But yeah, we've been popping brand new mobile homes on Summit. What's that?
I said, goodness, I haven't figured that one out. That analogy does not resonate with me.
Not yet. Yours are still really young. I have a 9-year-old, so I know him very well now. And that I know at 6 a.m. on the dot on a Sunday, that boy's walking in my room, waking me up. But I know him very well. Yeah, so we've been popping brand new mobile homes on some of these areas. Like one of the areas, the median home price is $460,000, and we're putting brand new mobile homes on these properties. People are getting like an acre of land for $230,000. So we're almost half. We are half of the median home price in this area of South Carolina. So imagine how big our buyer's pool is. Because everyone that couldn't afford a $460,000 house, that's usually a fixer-upper, can now afford this brand new house on land. So I'm not doing a ton of those. I'm not by no means an expert, but we're starting to teach people that in the land sharks as well. But yeah, I'll pause there. I've been talking too much.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty much as much value add as people tend to do with land as you could plop a mobile home down on it because there's no rehab. That's wild, but it makes it like immediately livable property.
Yeah, it's faster than a rehab. My rehabs used to take me 6 months. From the time we'd purchase it to the time we sell it, it'd be about 6 to 8 months. These, from the time we buy the land to the time we sell the property, it's fastest one ever is 4 months. But my average is about 6 months. From the time we buy the land to sell the brand new mobile and close and get paid is about 6 months.
Okay, fair enough. So help me understand this. Do I understand it? Where basically the model before was let me find cheap land and then I'll create demand for it. I even remember the name of your company was like Vacant Land of the Free. You're trying to find
it still is. VacantLandofTheFree.com.
Yeah. You're like marketing, hey, do you think an apocalypse is coming? Buy some land. Like it was, and you had all kinds of wild different reasons that people would buy this land. And you shifted to, let's find places where people want to buy land's in high demand. And then we're going to try to buy it at a discount, which is almost a little bit more similar to the standard house flipping model where you're taking something that usually could sell pretty easily and you're just trying to buy it at the right price. And then the selling part is relatively easy. So you're just buying the land, you're closing on it, and then you're just turning it around and selling it.
For the most part, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Similar to like a wholesale if we were comparing it to houses.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's 90% of them. Yes. And then of course like I already talked about the mobile, we'll do some entitlement plays on some of them, some subdivides on some others. But yeah, the bread and the butter, the stuff that gets me paid, I call it the base hits. It's just buy a piece of land, sell that piece of land. Don't touch it. Nothing else done to it.
And that's just, it turns into just income today. So there's no passive income component to that. Am I understanding that correct?
Yeah, so a lot of times people will pay us cash or they'll have bank financing or a line of credit or they're a builder. They pay for it immediately. But then there's the people that also, they can put $80,000 down and we hold a $200,000 mortgage at 12% interest for the next 30 years. Those work out too. So I always so when I sell my land, here's the strategy. So we'll buy the land, We'll market it as best as possible because we're really in the marketing business. We wanted to have video and drone and ground photos, ground videos, and really showcase the land. If someone's buying a piece of land in Florida and they're sitting in Wisconsin, we want them to really understand that land. So we find the land sales specialist real estate agents, the ones that really know the area, and we have them showcase it. But before we pull the trigger on buying, we do our due diligence. If anybody wants a due diligence checklist on what I do for land, just go to thelandsharks.com/DD as in due diligence. But I'm going to also call that land sales specialist realtor. I'm going to go on Redfin. I'm going to see who's selling all the land in the area. And once I figure that out for each parcel of land, I'm going to call every single one of them. And I'm going to say, hey, I'm actually in the process of buying a land right now. And this is after I have it under contract. It's at 123 Main Street. I'm curious what you think the blowout price is. Like, what's the get or done now price? If you had a hard money loan on this land and you need to sell it yesterday, what would you list it for? Because I want to know what their price is. I think I know, but I'm not in the business of buying land and holding it. I'm in the business of buying land and making money like that day. So once I know the price of those realtors, I say, great, would you be interested in listing this thing for me? Awesome. I'll call you as soon as I have it locked in. And then usually the next step is, would you go look at it? Because that's part of it. I need you to look at it before I pull the trigger on buying it, because the views could be $1 million views or it could be no views. So that's really important. And so something unfortunately I had to learn the hard way with vacant raw land. Because I'm buying this stuff all over the country. I'm buying in Texas and Carolinas and Georgia and Colorado and Arizona. I'm definitely not getting on airplanes to go look at this stuff.
Sure, that makes sense. So you just mentioned one of the mistakes that you initially made, which is basically not having eyes on it locally. And you called that by getting realtors that know the area, know what it's worth, can see it in person. What else do you see? And you've helped, I know you've helped a ton of people get into land investing. I don't know how many of them came from house investing versus just starting.
Half of them, I think.
Okay, so probably half. What are the key things that you find that those people tend to mess up on that?
Yeah, it's a lot of 14 of those items can be found on that due diligence checklist, the land buying roadmap at thelandsharks.com/DD. One big thing is access. How are you going to get to the land? Is it a paved road? Is it a dirt road? Do you have legal access? Does it look like you have access, but is that your legal access? Problem I ran into, I bought from a wholesaler, unfortunately. I got a little arrogant and cocky. This was about 1.5 years ago. I saw the land was selling all day long for $55,000 an acre. I bought it for $27,000 an acre. There was roads going to it, proposed roads, and I'm doing like air quotes for anybody listening to this, but they weren't roads. They just looked like they were platted out, and I knew that. I made sure I had legal ingress, egress, and I had an acquisition manager taking care of this purchase. This is when I had a couple acquisition managers. I am the acquisition manager right now in my business. Again, I went back to really small, keep it all. I take Fridays off every week now. So I'm like working Monday through Thursday. And I work hard from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Like, I don't play around. Like, I hit it and then leave it. But we made a mistake. No one called the county to see if the land was buildable. And yes, the land is buildable. It is buildable. But we had to put in asphalt roads, curbs, and gutters. And if anybody knows what it costs to build an asphalt road, it's like $50,000 a foot. Do the math. I had 1,000 feet. I didn't want to do that math. I knew no one would ever be able to cash flow on that area. There was a little loophole we figured out that if we transferred the land to agriculture and put like a barn dominium type thing on it, AKA an equipment barn, we could sell it, which that's what people want. No one really wanted to buy a piece of vacant land that they couldn't do anything with. We just had to figure out. I sat on it for a while until the answer came. But yeah, things happen. I shouldn't lose money. I should still be profitable in the deal.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But in hindsight, you probably wouldn't have done that if you.
Heck no.
And that's on this due diligence checklist. So this checklist sounds pretty dang valuable. That you could take like somebody who's doing, because here's the thing: no matter who you are, especially if you're doing online marketing channels, you're gonna get weird leads, just like you saw in business before. Because like, why do you get weird leads? You get weird leads because the way you're targeting isn't based on the property, right? So you could be that someone searched something that kind of sounded like they wanted to sell their house, but really it was a piece of land or something like that. So you start to get these. And what most people are doing is they're throwing those leads in the trash and saying, oh, I don't buy land. What you could do is you can go to Brent's website, you can take that due diligence checklist, and you can see there the top 14 mistakes, that people make. And you can look at it and it might
That
be a
I
deal.
made. How do you think I made that? I made that list from each one of my mistakes. One day I was like, how many mistakes? And I just kept going down the list. And I stopped at 14 because I was like, I need to go get a drink. And then I just never came back to it.
Yeah, it is an avenue of I'm sure. But that's cool. But yeah, that is a resource so people can hopefully not make the same mistakes. Is there anything else outside of that you feel like people miss that's not on the checklist? Obviously, the checklist would include like the due diligence mistakes.
Yeah.
But outside of that, what do people do wrong with like acquisitions for that? It's different.
That's so good for marketing on the marketing side. I think that what people do is they don't market. They don't stick to one channel and perfect it. I think that there's income producing activities when you start this business, just like with houses. Your number one income producing activity is to make offers to owners. That's really it. Make offers to landowners, make offers to house owners. The more offers you can make, the more deals you're going to close at the end. Those are your leading measures. Your lagging measure is getting paid at the closing table. But I think another mistake I made in the beginning was not buying title insurance policies. I was buying this land for a couple $100 and selling it for $5,000. And again, this is like some of the leads we would get too on our website. Some of these leads, we can make $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 by snapping our fingers. And now some of them we had to work harder on too. Before I knew it, like when I didn't know what I was doing the first year in this business, I was up to $12,000 a month within, I shouldn't say the first year, it's probably about 18 months net coming in on junk land, non-buildable, non-accessible, landlocked stuff. So it's a way to make passive income. And think of how many rentals you got to buy netting $300-$400 a month to hit 12 grand net, because something always breaks. Septic system, roof leak, you name it.
Sure. In a spreadsheet, it's easier to hit 12 grand than it is in reality because
yeah, everyone like measures their, I'm gonna keep this family friendly, you know what I'm talking about, their honker on how many doors they have. But are you really profitable? Yeah, you might be profitable in 30 years when your tenants pay those houses off or those doors off. But 30 years from now, those things are gonna be so freaking ran down if you don't put money into them. Yes, you got the depreciation. So I understand that game. Like you got to buy houses and keep them to depreciate them and get a tax benefit. But really, I had 8 doors when we first met in 2018. I could have never left my job on those 8 doors. Maybe if they were all paid for free and clear, but mine weren't. I was leveraged to the T.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you for taking the time to do this, Brent. This was cool. So for anybody listening that is somewhat interested, wants to look into your company, what's the best place for them to go outside of that due diligence checklist?
Yeah, just go to thelandsharks.com, hit the schedule the call button. It might have a link to schedule, or it might just go to an inbox. We're changing that over right now. I will be the one calling you, by the way. And you got to mention Brandon Bateman. I want to know that who's coming from this podcast. And I'm not really coaching a ton of people right now, but I will work with people that want to do land. But I enjoy having conversations with house buyers that are interested in switching over to the dark side.
Cool. Thank you, Brent, for taking the time. And to everybody else listening, I will see you next week.
Thanks, man.